Hey, what to do, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're just having a great day. So life for me has just been an absolute madhouse lately. If you guys have been following along, you guys know that I went to Texas. I did take a trip to Colorado with the family, which was very enjoyable. And in between all of that, work has just been crazy. So trying to piece everything together, trying to coordinate everything has not been the easiest thing in the world. And as a result of that, all of my little projects have been put on the back burner. But today we are going to be jumping back into them. We are going to be spending the bulk of the day in the shop, and we are going to be working on the old motor grader. So if we can get the grader up and working today, which I really think we're gonna be able to, we are actually gonna try and put it to work. We're gonna fill up the water truck, and we are going to go do some work on the dirt road because it is so bad right now. The washboard is just awful, shaking my Peterbilt to pieces every time I gotta take it in and out of here. So hopefully we can get everything up and working today, and as always, there may be something else that makes its way into this video. Like, I've noticed there's a ton of hornets flying around in the shop, so at some point I may be putting a hoodie on and trying to extinguish some hornets, or at least getting them out of the shop somehow. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's go ahead and jump on into it, and let's roll. So for anybody that did not watch the last video on the grader, pretty much we had this whole assembly taken apart. Alright, third time's a charm. I think this is the third time. This is actually one of the few activities. Gloves on for. This is on fire and I burned it out. But I cannot turn this thing with one hand, so I'm gonna have to set the camera back down and take another stab at it. Alright, well, first up on the list, we should probably get the shop open. It is like unbearably hot in here. There's zero wind blowing through here, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and get these doors opened up. It already feels 1,000 times better in here with those doors open. I did go ahead and pick up some gas for the grader, although we are not going to be putting in all, what is there? There's 25 gallons. We're only gonna do 5 gallons at a time, just in case we have any leakage issues. I don't want to blow through a ton of gas. So for anybody that did not watch the last video on the grader, pretty much we had this whole assembly taken apart. We went through, we cleaned everything super good. You guys can see that we got a very old school updraft style carburetor right here. It's actually made out of bronze, which is super cool. It's got super thick castings, very high quality carburetor. These were manufactured by a company called Ensign, and I still don't understand exactly how they work, but they are pretty cool carburetors. And the problem that we were having with this carburetor was the floats. You guys can see that they had tried to repair them with some sort of epoxy, but they did not float like they were supposed to, not very buoyant. And what was happening is that we could get the machine to run okay at an idle, but as soon as you would bring the RPMs up, it would just fall on its face, or vice versa. We could get it to run okay at higher RPMs, but then when you would bring it down to an idle, it just would run awful. The machine would start popping, which is detrimental to these things. You do not want them to pop. And so basically what we had to do was order these right here. It's pretty much one of the only replacement parts that I could find for this carburetor. They cost me, I think it was like 55 bucks after shipping, which if that's all it takes to get this grader up and working, I'm gonna be super stoked. So there's really not a whole lot left to do. Pretty much what we're gonna do is replace these floats with those floats. I think I'm gonna hold on to them. I don't know why, they're no good, but I may need to like machine new ones or figure out a way to 3D print new ones or something like that. Not gonna throw those away, and hopefully these work. Shouldn't take too long. I'm gonna go ahead and wheel over my fancy little metal workbench that I had to take for what project was that? I'm really hoping I didn't have any small pieces of the carburetor walk away. I did put this project on hold for like, I think a week and a half or 2 weeks, and I had to commandeer this table for the John Deere project with the headlights, which by the way I love. They turned out great. So I'm gonna go ahead and move everything back onto the table. Hopefully we can get it all put back together. I'm gonna pull my little chair over here. Like that. While I get everything set up, I'm actually gonna go ahead and set the GoPro back in the freezer because with how hot it is today, the camera's already scorching, and what I'm doing right now is not that interesting. So let me get everything set up, get this cooled down, and then we'll get this carburetor put back together. All right, camera's cooled down a little bit, so let's go ahead and get this thing put back together. I think that's it. I really hope so. All right, so we're gonna need a flathead. Let's go ahead and take these off. Need a slightly smaller flathead. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. It's basically just 2 screws. Let's go ahead and pull out the new float, make sure, let's size them up actually. See if they look somewhat the same. Yeah, I think so. We'll go ahead and open this. I don't think we'll be sending it back. Well, we may have encountered our first dilemma. The screw, as you guys can tell, is in, but it does not push all the way through, which means we cannot grab onto that. Now, I don't know what kind of material this is. Doesn't look like if I crush it that it's gonna matter. But honestly, I have no idea. It's really weird stuff. But regardless, it's not gonna work like this, so I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and drill this out just a little bit, because I actually took off this washer as well. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and drill it so that it's kind of like recessed, almost like a countersink, but I don't have a countersink bit, so we'll just use a normal drill bit, ream it out just a smidge. When I say a smidge, I mean like a 1/4 inch, because I do not want to spend another $55 on 2 little pieces of plastic. Actually really nervous to do this right now because I do not want to mess it up, but here we go. Woo, boy, that is soft. Yeah, almost went too fast for that. Yeesh. I need a slightly larger drill bit. Be right back. All right. So close to being just perfect. Okay, I think that's going to be the one. We are sticking through. We're looking good. All right, now as long as it floats, we're good. So hopefully it floats. I have no idea what was going on with these. I honestly think he made them, like completely from scratch. But now that we know it fits, we'll go ahead and drill out this other one very carefully. Okay, let's see if it fits. Maybe go just a hair more. All right, there's that. Now I gotta remember, how does this go in? Okay. Our float pushed in. That's the top. Oh, you guys, we got a problem. It's too fat. Dog. No. That is not good. So how do we remedy this? This is bad news. Why? Why? All right. So we're having to put our thinking caps on a little bit. These are too wide to fit inside this canister. So definitely not the correct floats. But I think what we're gonna do, you guys can see we have this little recessed channel right here. I'm gonna go ahead and take it down probably like another 1/8 of an inch. We're gonna shave off on both of them, and I think that's gonna get us pretty much to where we need to be. So if drilling this wasn't scary enough, now I have to actually shave some off. And I'm gonna do that with probably, I think some wood chisels. I don't know yet, I gotta figure that one out. I'm gonna go ahead and bring some stuff over here though and try and get that squared away. So I think instead of the wood chisels, I'm actually gonna go ahead and opt for a razor blade. It might work, it might not. I'm gonna go ahead and set it up on a time lapse because if it doesn't work, I'm just gonna be bringing a bunch of other stuff over and you guys will know what works by the end of the time lapse. So, gonna go ahead and set it down and get to work.
I was born up in the mountain, raised by an old grizzly bear.
Well, that didn't take too long to figure out. The razor blade was definitely the tool for the job. It actually turned out pretty clean. I'm gonna go ahead and set this one up next to it so you guys can see how much deeper we went. This side is substantially more. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on the actual float mechanism itself. Then we'll stick it in there, see if it's rubbing on the one side. And if it's not, then I'll go ahead and trim this one to the equal length. But now that it's substantially thinner, I did not have to drill that hole as deep, but it is what it is. It's not gonna be the end of the world. Okay. Come on, turd. There we go. Let's see, top. Then from the side. All right, well, I think we're gonna be good. You guys can see we have just a little bit of clearance right there, and that's all we need. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim out the other one to be equal length, then we'll go ahead and get the float put all the way back in. So I think we're looking pretty good. We got the floats in there. You guys can see they're super close to the edge, but they don't rub. So I think it's gonna be exactly what we need. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten everything back up. We'll get this thing dropped back into the tractor. We'll let her rip. We'll see how she does. I really think this is the only thing that was holding that tractor back from just running fantastic. So I just got to remember where all this weird stuff goes now. I think I'm actually missing a piece. Hang on, I'll be right back. Now keep in mind, it's been a couple weeks since I worked on this thing, and I was trying to figure out where this little needle with this spring goes. Cannot find a place anywhere in this, but turns out it's actually still a piece that's on the carburetor. And it's gonna go right there, but it cannot go on until after this has been installed. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this back out. We'll set it there for now. This is going to hopefully fit. Oh, you guys, I don't know, I feel the float kind of rubbing on that. That might be a big problem. These are definitely not the right floats. I may have to sand them down. If it ain't one thing, it's another, guys. So we're really not gonna be taking off much, maybe like a 1/16 of an inch, maybe even less. It really was just barely rubbing, but we want absolutely zero touching on either side so that it does not affect the performance of the grater. So to do that, we're gonna be using the trusty old Bosch sander. I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera down. We'll see how this goes. Go ahead and close that up. So it shaved it down pretty quick, and I think I actually took off a little more than I needed to. And I'm not sure if you guys are gonna be able to pick this up on camera, but you can see how this one's just slightly taller than that one. I think it's gonna be okay, but regardless, I'm gonna have to shave this one down a little bit. I'm gonna try and get it as equal to this one as I can, so that way they both lift uniformly. We don't have one trying to do this, so let's go ahead and get this other one shaved down. Looking good to me. It's pretty close. Yep, good enough. So before I put it all back together and realize that we have another problem, I'm seeing that the screws are sticking in just a little bit past. So I'm just gonna make sure that they're not what was rubbing. Oh, you guys might have a problem. Gosh dang it. And of course they rub. So I'm gonna have to trim those down a little bit now. So again, I just used the sander to do that, kind of just had it turned on and was lightly brushing away. This is a very, very soft metal, so it's not the hardest thing in the world to do. And yeah, I could, no. Yeah, I need to go a little more still. It's close. It probably wouldn't rub, but I just want to have it be flush with the inside of this. All right, third time's a charm. I think this is the third time. Might actually be the fourth. Anyways, let's go ahead and we'll get this slid into place. I think we're feeling pretty good. I don't think we have any issues this time, so we're gonna go ahead and get some of these screws set in place to just hold the bowl. Well, it's not really a bowl, it's like a side canister. I don't know what you would call it on a carburetor like this. The float housing, maybe. If anybody knows, drop it down in the comments below, because I love being educated. All right, and then this is that little needle I was talking about. This gets dropped right in place right there. And this gets screwed in. Hopefully I'm not cross-threading anything. Actually gonna go ahead and double check that. I'm gonna tighten this one down gently because it's kind of old. It's a little bit rounded off. Hopefully it doesn't leak from there. Oops. All right, let's go ahead and get the fuel opened up. Let's see what she does. All right, this is a huge moment because really there's nothing else left to do on the carburetor. Everything has been gone through now. The floats are good. It should work. It should be able to get gas to the engine. Oh, here we go. We already got too much gas. That means that the float is sitting too far down and we need to bend it up. So I really wish there was a way to adjust the float level on this thing without having to take it completely apart, put it all back together. This is the second time we've done it. We're gonna go ahead and turn the fuel back on and see if it just starts dumping out the bottom of the carburetor again. So basically what I did, there is a bar inside right here that you can bend ever so slightly just to adjust the float level. And basically, the more you bend the floats up, the less fuel it's actually gonna let in, I think. Or maybe it's vice versa. I may have done that wrong. Definitely did that wrong. I should have bent it down because then it will lift up sooner and shut the float off. Yep, I messed up. So this is the float bar that I was talking about, and basically I had this bar completely straightened out. You guys can see we've got a nice curve to it now. And right here towards the back is where that needle actually rests. It lets the fuel in and out of the bowl. And the straighter you have this, or the higher up you have the floats, the actually more delayed it is in shutting that off. So the further down you push these floats, they begin to float sooner and push up back here earlier, which will restrict the flow that actually comes into the carburetor. So it actually messed up, done it the wrong way. So now we're gonna go ahead and put it back in like this. May actually push it down just a hair more to try and get that carburetor to stop. We'll see, I don't know. It's kind of like a guessing game at this point. I really wish there was a way to adjust it externally, but there is not. So we have it like this. We're gonna go ahead and put it all back together. We're gonna see how much it leaks coming out the bottom right there. So when I set out to start this project today, I thought it was gonna be a quick and easy one, but I'm gonna be honest right now, kind of thinking the grader's gonna win this battle. I've had the carburetor off and on of that thing probably, let's say 15 times now. I cannot get this float to do what it's supposed to. Fuel just keeps dumping out the bottom of the carburetor right there, and I cannot figure out why. I have adjusted this thing to where it barely has to go up to shut the fuel off. That's as high as it needs to go. And it should restrict the fuel from coming into the carburetor. So I don't know what's going on. So we're gonna go ahead and use a bucket of water to try and help aid and figure out what's going on. I'm gonna set this in there, see how well these are actually floating, because maybe they're not floating. Maybe I damaged them and they're not working. But if these do come up, I should be able to blow into that right there and not be able to push any air through. So I guess we'll just go ahead and set the camera down and and see how this works. See if they actually float. Oh, they definitely float, like really good. Let me go ahead and show you guys that. All right, so there's the floats. I mean, you barely have to go halfway up. So technically, that's where the fuel level should be when it gets shut off. So let me go ahead and see if that needle's seating the way it's supposed to. It's definitely working. It's not letting any air through. So maybe it needs to be even less, which, I'll be honest guys, that would blow my mind because it's so close. Let's see. All right, so if this doesn't stop the fuel from flowing into the carburetor, I think we've got another problem because I have the floats adjusted almost all the way down to where that's all the movement that they have. So in theory, as soon as they come up that high, it should shut off the fuel flow. And I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. I think this line, as I'm looking at the carburetor, along with some other components that are there, this guy right here, I think that's supposed to be the fuel line. So technically, when I dunk these into water, it should be that high to where these floats stop. So we're gonna go ahead and do one more test. So we're just below it. So maybe that's how it's supposed to be. I don't know. We're gonna go ahead and put it back together. We're gonna see if it still leaks. If it does, I'm gonna have to do some more research because this has me scratching my brain. I've been messing with this thing for the better part of probably 5 hours now. So let me go ahead and get this put back together one more time and we'll see how it works. All right, well, let's cross our fingers that we do not have to take this carburetor off anymore. That float literally has to come up about that much to shut the fueling off for the carburetor. So if it's still overflowing, that means that there is an internal problem somewhere in here. Let's go ahead and crack this valve. Let's see what happens. So far, so good. Waiting game. Not seeing any fuel come out yet, which I think by now, on all the other previous attempts, there was a... No! Oh! You guys, I cannot figure out what's going on. I don't know why it's doing that. All right, guys, well, we are super close to having this thing completely leak-free. Whether or not the carburetor is adjusted is a different story, but there is just one tiny little drop that comes out of there occasionally. I'm gonna go ahead and chalk this up as a win. We're gonna leave that sitting for now. This is the closest I've ever been to having this thing not leaking. There's no leaks anywhere else, so we're gonna go ahead and get this thing cleaned off. We're gonna try and get this thing started. Then hopefully we can start to adjust it to where it's actually gonna start working. Let's cross our fingers. Well, without any further delay, let's go ahead and try and get this thing started. As you guys can tell, it's been sitting for a minute. Lots of cobwebs. Not sure if that's gonna show up on camera, but we'll go ahead. You know, I'm gonna leave it off for now. We're gonna crank the engine a little bit, get it turned over, and then we'll come back and turn the switch on, see if we can get it to fire off. But for now, we'll go ahead and just set this down. See what we can make happen. I'll just probably double check that it's in neutral. Make sure my kids don't put it up here. Okay. This is actually one of the few activities I'm gonna put some gloves on for. I've pinched my hands probably 10 times on that starter, and it hurts. Does not feel good. We'll see how this goes. We got somewhere. This little steady stream. bin, so there's fuel in there. All right, well, it is very smoky in here. I'm gonna let it sit for a minute, but it ran for a solid minute. And I think we just need to do the fine tuning now. So I gotta read up a little bit on how to actually do this. I'm trying to remember. More rich is this way. So I need to see what popping is. It's kind of smoky, which maybe means it's too rich and we need to lean it out a little bit. So pop that one in and do that one a little bit. I'm gonna try this again. We're gonna go ahead and open up this side of the shop as well. Get a little bit more fresh air in here, because it is smoky. All right, so my neighbor's gonna be coming over in just a little bit. He's gonna try and help me get the fine tuning on. He's got a more acute ear than I do. But I think we ran out of gas. As I'm pushing down the button to fill the bowl, it's no longer spewing out fuel. So we're gonna go ahead and put probably another 2 gallons in there for testing purposes. And I'll keep trying to mess around with it until he comes over, just because I'm like super excited. But we're getting pretty close. I had it running for probably like a solid 5 minutes, and its idle actually sounded somewhat decent. So let me go and throw some gas in there, then we'll start messing around with it some more. So I went ahead and put 5 gallons in. I'm feeling confident in the grader today. She's gonna put in some work. Maybe after the sun goes down, because it is hot. And this is already pretty warm. So we're not gonna try and push her too hard. You might worry about this. I'm out there, I get hot, it goes boom, catches on fire and I burn the valve again. No.
I say the next step is just driving around in here without any problem.
All right, guys, I think we're just about there. This is the smoothest it's ever ran since we've had it. Everything's pretty well adjusted. And the next thing to do is drive it around, see if it pops. We're not gonna try and push dirt with it yet, but we're gonna see if we can actually get it to move without having any issues, because before, I mean, this thing just struggled. Didn't matter what you did. So we're gonna go ahead and get this blade lift up, get it rotated so we can get it out of here. Right now, this is hands down the best the grader has run since we've had it. We're driving out towards the front of the property right now. She's just chugging along. She's not backfiring. She's not popping. Things are just great right now. We're gonna go ahead and just do a complete circle. We're gonna bring it back. We're gonna double check a couple things. And then if it's looking good, we're gonna take it out to the road, and I'll probably grade that little portion today because it's just so bad. And then if I get enough time, I'll do the rest of it tomorrow. Right now we're going up a little incline, and it still just chugs right along coming up the hill. So I think we're good. And if that's the case, we got another working unit out here at the range. So excited right now. I just went ahead and shifted up into another gear, moving a little bit better, still running pretty good. We're making decent progress as far as actual speed goes. I kind of feel, hold on, let me make this turn real quick. I kind of feel like there should be a little bit more throttle, but I don't know with this little machine. I'm not gonna complain right now because it's running really good. So as long as it can push dirt under a load, that's all I really care about. I don't care how fast it is. All right, well, just pulled the grader back in the shop. It's running so good. I'm so happy right now. Huge progress was made on this thing today. And as you can tell, we've got zero leakage coming out of the carburetor. So I'm pretty sure the carburetor is like exactly where it needs to be. So there's just one slight difference in how this thing's running right now, and I feel like it just doesn't have quite as much throttle as it used to have. I feel like it's running at a lower RPM. I'm not super concerned about it because these are low RPM engines. They have a very long stroke. They got a lot of torque on the bottom end, and they're not really made to be running at high RPMs like a lot of the newer engines are. And we don't want to push this thing too hard anyways. For now, we're gonna leave it as is. I'm gonna go ahead and start up the water truck. We're gonna start filling that thing up, because I want to grade at least a section in front of my house. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the water truck up top. We'll get it starting to fill up. I'm not gonna use the solar pump today. We're gonna go ahead and fire up the diesel pump, get it filled up pretty quick. And then hopefully by the time it's done, well, the sun's still pretty high. I was gonna say, hopefully by the time it's done, it's cooled down a little bit, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. So once it's full, we'll go ahead and spray the road down pretty good, give it a nice little good soaking, and then we'll take the grader up to actually do like it's maiden voyage of actual work. So where am I going? Ranger's over here. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and get that water truck filled up. You know, guys, it's never easy. Who dropped these things in front of the water truck? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get it started anyways, and then I'll be back up here with the tractor to move them out of the way. All right, got those little trailers moved out of the way. Just headed over here up front. Gonna hook up to the old water truck spigot. Yeah, that's probably good. Yeah, I'll back up a little bit more. I love that switch. All right, well, let's just try and keep this forward momentum going. Took a while for things to get going, but right around lunchtime, things started to take a turn for the better. So let's hope that this thing starts and that we don't have repeats of that battery, and hopefully that battery's still charged. So we'll know here very shortly. Oh, got voltage, that's good. Fuel pump on. Go ahead and give her some diesel. Let's see. Dog! Oh, there we go. Yeah. Down a little bit. Go ahead and get this valve opened up. Purge this guy. That is a sediment filter. And now you know why it's good to clean them out every once in a while. So as far as today goes, we are still in the testing phases. I only filled the water truck up about halfway. If the test goes well, then probably tomorrow morning we'll fill it up all the way when it's not as hot. We'll make our way out to the main dirt road instead of the portion that just crosses in front of my house. And we'll put in some serious work at that point. But for now, we're just trying to see how well it works, see if it can push dirt under a load without popping. And to do that, we're only gonna need about half a truckload of water. So I'm gonna make my way down to the shop. Hopefully the grader starts up again as easy as it has been. We'll bring it up top. Then we'll give that portion of the road a nice, good dousing. Hopefully soften it up just a little bit, because right now everything is just rock hard out here. I just have this vision in my head of this thing starting up really easy now that the carburetor's all dialed in. Hopefully that's actually the case, and I don't struggle with this thing again. Who knows? Maybe it's like good to go, and this is just how it was back in the day. A little bit of a process to get it started. Almost, maybe. Blowing smoke rings. A little bit more fuel, maybe. I don't know. Regardless, she started. Man, she is just humming right along. I love this old thing. You guys are probably gonna hear me say that at least 3 more times in this video. So next up on the list is definitely a clutch adjustment. No! Don't die, don't die, come on. There we go. Needed just a little bit more gas. All right. Whoa! Wrong way. Okay. One day I'll get this thing figured out. All right, well the grader made it up top, ran good the whole way, set the parking brake. Hopefully it doesn't disengage and take off down the property. But now I'm gonna go ahead and spray the road real good. Hopefully it doesn't all evaporate in less than 5 minutes. Well, we're not out of water yet. We did make it back to the driveway. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut the PTO off. I'm gonna go ahead and close those sprayers. We'll get this truck parked off to the side. And then we'll try and do a little bit of work with the grader. And we may give it one more last spray before we actually like wrap things up. And I might try and pack it in with the truck a little bit. All right, well, we are making our way up to the road right there. You guys can kind of see where the water started right there. I pretty much sprayed from there over to roughly where those trees are. I've got the grader in a crawl right now. It's in first gear or low gear or whatever it was called. And it is super slow. I mean, this thing is barely moving. We're like half throttle. When I bring it up, I think it's gonna have the power that we need to go ahead and knock out the little, I forgot what they're called. I'm really hoping that we've got enough pushing power and enough weight to knock out the washboard that is on this section right here. Because when I come home late at night or in the afternoon, or actually I guess it doesn't matter when I come home, the truck just rattles so bad right here. And we've got a couple other sections like that out on the dirt road, but I cannot turn this thing with one hand, so I'm gonna have to set the camera back down and take another stab at this. Position. I'm going to try and preload the blade a little bit, give us a little bit of material to work with. Let's see how this goes. All right, so it's going to be kind of hard to do with the camera, but you guys can see that we're already pushing a little bit. Go ahead and lift that side up a smidge, push this one down. All right, we are grading. She's not popping. We're still pushing pretty good. It's actually got a little bit of dirt in the blade, not too much. We're still kind of high on this side a little bit. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'll probably end up doing like 3 or 4 passes because I cannot operate and hold the GoPro at the same time. But it is working. And the biggest problem we had before is that as soon as we'd get under any sort of load, the machine would just start running awful and start popping. But we're still just humming right along. She's pushing, she's not bogging down, she's running great, and actually, you guys, it's starting to look pretty. We got some really nice smooth sections back there. You guys can see that we are knocking out the washboard right here. You can see all the little high spots right there. Overall, the grader is working pretty dang good right now. I'd say today was a pretty big success. I think between this machine and maybe Ryan's Coyote, if we were to go spend like a day out on the road, we could have that thing just like primo. This would do like all the very rough cutting, the broad blades, super nice, and he would come in and just finish up behind me. So this may be like the dream team for the dirt road out here. Super exciting, guys. All right, so after actually operating this thing for, I don't know, probably 10 minutes, there's two things that I wish it had. A faster reverse or power steering. This thing is a bear to turn around. So basically what I'm doing is I'm doing a pass and then I'm backing all the way up, and it has a slow reverse because there's not really enough room to turn around right there without having to like Austin Powers it. And this thing does not turn very easy. However, the grader is running great. It can actually grade. It smoothed the road out beautifully right here. So if I was a good YouTuber, I would have gotten my Peterbilt and done a test drive right here before we graded it, and then I could show you guys how bad it actually was, and then we could jump in it and show you guys how smooth it is now. I think it's way better. So we are gonna do the aftermath of it. I'm gonna go ahead and park this thing. We're gonna go warm up the Peterbilt. We're gonna go for a little drive right here, see if it's as rattly as it was, and if it's not, tomorrow morning, we're gonna do the same song and dance, but probably to the entire dirt road. We can put this thing into high speed, which I think we're in it right now. The game shift pattern designator, but this is the fastest that I've gotten the machine to go, and it moves pretty good. I could try another gear, but I don't want to ruin a good thing. Alright, let's put the throttle down. Kind of sounds like we shut it off already, but we did not. She's still coming down. And then go ahead and throttle her off. And that's it, boys and girls. The first test run was a huge success. Ooh, let's go ahead and turn that up to max. Oh man, guys, that AC feels great. But here we go, our first test run. We're gonna see how much this thing bounces around. So far, it's way better than it was. We got a little bit of bump still, but not too bad. I can live with that. All right, so this was the worst part right here. You guys can see we got a tiny bit of washboard still, but it's not enough to like warrant worrying about anything. Before, when I would drive through here, the hood was literally like pop, 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 pop. The reason that's so bad is that your seals on your hubs, they actually have vents in them, and it shoots just a little bit of gear oil out every single time it does that, and then it leaks out onto your wheels, and then the commercial CHPs driving around, they see you, they can pull you over, and actually write you up for that. So we like to do away with the washboard, and because of how good that turned out, I'm thinking tomorrow we are going to have a day dedicated to grading the main road, which is out that way. You know, we got another really bad section up here that I'll go ahead and show you guys how bad it used to be on that portion back there. All right, so here's the other really bad section. You guys are going to see how bad it starts to bump here in a second. You guys hear how bad that was? The part that used to be in front of my house was way worse. So 1000% increase in road quality. And I'm hoping that tomorrow we can do the rest of the road just like in front of my house. Ooh, you guys, it's like glass up here. So even though we don't show any signs of leakage on the carburetor, we're gonna go ahead and close this valve anyways to isolate this so we can save what little bit of gas we put in there. Because honestly, I don't know how much fuel this thing burns. Can't imagine it's the most efficient machine in the world. So we're gonna try and save what gas we did put in there. And I think that's a wrap, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the shop, button a couple things up, and we'll see if anything piques my interest. But if not, this may be the end of the video. Yeah, I think I'm done for the day. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up and put the screws to this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you could do me a huge solid like, subscribe, share this with your amigos, hit that notification button down below, so you guys can continue to see progress with whatever else we got going on. I think the grader's gonna take the back seat for a minute just because of how good it's working. And I think the John Deere is gonna make its way into the shop next. But thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Later.